Joe Biden warned that he was going to blow up the Nord Stream 2 pipeline. Want to hear him say it? What happened? Come on.
Let me answer the first question first. If Russia invades, that means tanks or troops crossing the border of Ukraine again. Then there will be no longer a Nord Stream 2. We will bring an end to it.
So he said he's going to end the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, which is the pipeline that was being built to take gas from Russia and bring it to Germany. So he just said that they're going to blow that thing up. He didn't say the word blow it up, but he said we're going to stop the gas going through it.
How will you do that?
How will you do it?
Exactly. Since the project and control of the project is within Germany's control.
We will, I promise you, we'll be able to do it.
Well, how did they do it? They did it. Here's how they did it.
What do you think Germany is going to tell us no if we say we're blowing your thing up?
Hey, we're going to blow up your gas pipeline. You got no choice. Nord Stream, so this is how they're referring to it in newspapers and stuff. They're saying they're calling it a pipeline leak.
Into the ocean? What it is, into the ocean?
It's on the bottom of the ocean.
Oh, so it's being shot into the... Oh, so, great.
Yeah.
Great.
So, a series of unusual leaks in 2 gas pipes. Really? It's unusual. This leak is unusual.
It's sad that it's probably not. They leak like nonstop all the time, everywhere.
Yes. So here, I like what Jim Richards says. He says, I don't know who blew up the Nord Stream pipelines. Both of them. I do know that when solving a mystery, you look for motives. Russia has none. They can turn off the gas when they want. They can stop the gas. They didn't need to blow up their own gas pipeline. So that's why this doesn't make any sense when people are blaming Russia for doing this. Of course, they're just repeating propaganda coming directly from the State Department and Joe Biden and NATO.
They're saying Russia did it?
Yes. Yes.
How would that make any sense?
The U.S. has plenty. So Russia has none. They have no motives for doing this. They can turn off the gas anytime they want. And the U.S. has plenty of motives. They can blame Putin. They can escalate the war. They can advance their green agenda. They can make the European Union dependent on American energy.
No, I'm going to withhold judgment. I want to hear Bosch's take on it first.
It's actually too wild how blatant the U.S. was with this one. Both Sweden and Germany are like, oh, yeah, so a certain someone definitely sabotaged this, and everyone's got to act like they don't know who. Caitlin Johnstone says the West has blamed Russia for bad presidents, for Western racism, for Western political divisions, for inflation, for pretty much every bad thing Western power structures are responsible for. But blaming Russia for attacks on Russia's pipelines is probably going to take the cake.
And I think Russia took the cake also.
And they did. They bombed the cake. So, do you know who that's got? A member of European Parliament. He says, "Thank you, USA."
Well, you're welcome, sir.
And that got 42,000 likes. Here's the German lawmakers break Europe's silence on suspected Nord Stream pipeline saboteur to point the finger at Russia. So this is how propaganda works. It doesn't matter how stupid it is. It doesn't matter how much it doesn't make sense. The United States got convinced by a moron, George Bush, that a country that didn't have a missile that could reach us was a threat to us. And we had to invade them. That's how, doesn't matter how dumb it is. If the military-industrial complex wants it, it's happening. And so that's what this is. You don't think she's bought by the military-industrial complex? Of course she is. This is my favorite. Kremlin dismisses stupid claims that Russia attacked Nord Stream. It is a stupid. Why would they attack their own goddamn pipeline? They could just turn off the spigot. Here's Poland's former foreign minister, a sitting member of the European Parliament, is praising what he suggests is a United States attack on part German-owned civilian infrastructure, which could condemn millions of poverty in a frigid winter. I'm speechless.
Oh, good. Stay that way, dude. Powell, stick with that. Being speechless.
So, again, this is how this works. And now, it doesn't matter if they're So let me bring in Jackson. Jackson, and now it doesn't matter if there's a peace treaty because they can't send the gas anyway. They blew up the pipelines. So now it doesn't. So now the United States is like, hey, peace might break out. People are starting to catch on to this. Even Chris Hayes tweeted out that we should stop sending weapons to Ukraine. So people are starting to catch on. And so what did they do? They blew up the fucking pipelines. The United States did this. Go ahead, Jackson.
10 days before they blew up these pipelines, Putin went to European officials and told them, and it was during a time in which he was meeting with also Turkish and Saudi officials, and they were discussing potentially negotiating a peace deal with Ukraine again. This was about, a week and a half ago. And he told
Oh, it's happening again.
the Nordstream 2 back operating is press the button and essentially removing the sanctions. Remove the sanctions, stop the proxy war, and Nord Stream 2 will be operating again. There's no reason whatsoever.
Oh, this is not going to work today.
Massive piece of leverage on Europe, that being gas flow into Europe through the Nord Stream 1 and 2 pipelines, would destroy the infrastructure that could potentially be used to leverage that gas flow in the future. It makes no sense whatsoever. And there's a ton of information that suggests that the U.S., of course, is responsible for it. I'm sure you have some of those details, but I mean, it's crazy. And if anyone doesn't understand why the United States would do this, I suggest you reflect in history back to 1519 when Cortez landed in the New World. And when on arrival, he burned up all their ships. He burned up their ships because he wanted to send a message that there's no turning back. And that's the message that the United States just sent to Europe. There's no turning back. You have to commit 100% to this proxy war and all the anti-Russia policies that we're putting forward.
That is exactly what this is.
But maybe you haven't considered this. Putin is a madman.
You want to hear? This is back in 2014. This is Condoleezza Rice in 2014. You ready for this?
Do you think Germany's been as aggressive as they should be?
I'm quite an admirer of Chancellor Merkel, and I heard her statement when she was with President Obama in Washington. I thought it was a very good statement. But now we need to have tougher sanctions, and I'm afraid at some point this is going to probably have to involve oil and gas. The Russian economy is vulnerable. 80% of Russian exports are in oil, gas, and minerals. People say, well, the Europeans will run out of energy. Well, the Russians will run out of cash before the Europeans run out of energy. And I understand that it's uncomfortable to have an effect on business ties in this way. But this is one of the few instruments that we have. Over the long run, you simply want to change the structure of energy dependence. You want to depend more on the North American energy platform, the tremendous bounty of oil and gas that we're finding in North America. You want to have pipelines that don't go through Ukraine and Russia. For years, we've tried to get the Europeans to be interested in different pipeline routes. It's time to do that. And so some of this is simply acting and acting.
That was nice of Putin to help out by bombing his own pipes.
Biden didn't deliver a $15 minimum wage, but he did blow up a pipeline that provides Europe with natural gas.
Does this sound like, in Caddyshack when Judge Smale's like, I've sent boys your age to the gas chamber. Didn't want to do it. Felt I owed it to him. I hear that over and over. I hear that over and over again in every single one of these things is that phrase. Madeleine Albright, was it worth it to kill all those kids? Didn't want to do it. Felt we owed it to him.
Yeah.
They're all Judge Smales.
Breaking. Germany says attack on Nord Stream pipeline has triggered NATO Article 5, but it's complicated since it was by the United States. Now, this is not really from Reuters, but this is a joke, but that's a good joke. 52,000 likes. So I'm going to guess NATO Article 5 is the one that says if somebody attacks a NATO state that you're attacking all of us, and so we all have to go to war now with that. I think, is that what Article 5 is, Jackson?
You kind of broke up there for me, but Article 5, this would essentially be the United States triggering our.
Oh, we can't do this today. Okay, so we're fucked today with our internet, man. It keeps freezing on us left and right. So, Article 5, Jackson. It's that means like if you attack one NATO country, that it's like you're attacking all the NATO countries, right? That's what Article 5 is. And if someone attacks a NATO country, now they all have to go to war with that country. Is that what Article 5 is?
Yeah, you broke up, but I think that was the gist.
What's Article 5?
The United Nations Security Council is going to convene at the request of the Russia to discuss damage to 2 Russian gas pipelines to Europe that has caused gas. So they're going to have a National Security Council meeting over this. Again, the United States, we are the gangster. We're the terrorists. We're the world's terrorists. We're the world's gangster. Putin can't hold a fucking candle to the United States gangsterism.
Oh my God, I just realized maybe Jimmy Dore is attacking the Nordstream pipeline himself.
Hey, Russian spy whales shine spotlight on military-grade animals. Look, Russian spy, that's what the Russians...
Yeah, how do you know one of their Russian spy whales didn't do it?
That's right, maybe a Russian spy whale
That's how
did
evil
it.
they are.
So this is way more horrible than I think people in the United States realize what this means.
It's so stupid that I see the trick. Like I would have to reread it because I'd be like, oh, that's not what that said. And I just move on with my, because it's that blatant and stupid.
What is?
That Russia did that to their own pipeline that they could turn off. So it's almost like kind of perfect in a way. Because you read it like, your brain's like that. I was like shocked at the beginning when you said it.
This screws Europe through this winter. Fucking hard. And they're just doing it. But go ahead.
It does screw them, but also it just so happened to magically take place on the same day that the Baltic pipeline, which runs through, I think it's like Norway, Denmark, Poland, was set up and established and finalized. So very interesting timing there. And the U.S. knows exactly what they're doing, and we know what the U.S. is doing. They led a U.S. Navy ship detachment of assault ships into this Baltic Sea region, just 30 miles away from the Nordstream 1 and 2 pipeline explosions, just a few days.
Okay.
Navy fleet that was on board, which focuses on warfare, Central Pacific, naval undersea warfare operations. So this group was on board the assault ship, and they were soaring very close to these 2 pipelines. I think we know exactly what happened. It's as clear as day. Oh, and the last thing I'll say is, yeah, it's not just going to screw them for this winter. They're now, German authorities, German intelligence is saying that these pipelines are potentially irreparable.
Yes, that they're like, well, here's an article by Al Jazeera. Depending on the scale of the damage, the leaks could even mean a permanent closure of both lines, Nord Stream 1 and 2.
Yeah.
So I said at the beginning of this, it might sound crazy, but it looks like the United States and NATO are doing this because they want to sell more energy to Europe, and Russia is currently now providing 40% of Europeans' energy. And the United States gas companies, they want part of that. And that's exactly what this is. That's exactly what's happening. Isn't that what's happening, Jackson?
That, and it's to negotiate with Russia.
Say it again.
It's going to do exactly what you just said and also stop any efforts that may have been underway that the Saudis and the Turks were talking about, insofar as the Europeans negotiating an end to this war in Ukraine with Russia.
Oh, good. We can't send Boris again, so we gotta. Do they send Boris in scuba gear to the bottom?
I initially thought maybe he was on his post, PM vacation, and he did a belly flop from the 5th floor of his yacht. That's what exploded it. I was wrong.
Virginia Beach, Richmond, Arlington, San Jose, Miami, West Palm Beach. Go to jimmydorecomedy.com for a link for all the tickets and become a premium member while you're there.